The Marathon Alpha has been open for a few days now. During this time, we've been able to look at everything the Alpha offers, leading up to its end date on May 4th. On the 24th of April, a day after the Alpha was opened, the community got the chance to ask questions to Senior Design Lead Lars Bakken and Gameplay Director Andrew Witts about changes to gameplay systems, solo viability, and upcoming Alpha adjustments, as well as the narrative direction, lore development, and long-term plans for the game. Before we jump into the interviews, a huge thanks goes out to Bakken, Hidden Xperia, and Jesse Chasm, and of course to Lars Bakken and Andrew Witts, who made time to give these interviews while at work. Thanks to their questions and answers, we're able to cover every important topic discussed. Without further ado, let's begin. In the interview with Senior Design Lead Lars Bakken, Bakken began with an important question that community members outside of the game test wanted to know the most. Are there more waves of codes being sent out for the closed alpha? Lars responded with a big yes. We're doing it daily from this point on. I can't tell you how many players we're letting in, but the lottery system is continuing and codes should be going out every day. So, if you signed up for alpha access, continue to check your email inbox, as you might be one of the lucky few invited to join the closed alpha. Next, Bakken asked, are you guys getting feedback on TTK, time to kill, and solo viability? Because solo players can't really play. It's not a viable option given how players enter each game in teams of 3. Lars answered, the game is legitimately made for crews, teams of 3, so that's expected and good feedback. You can queue solo, but it will be much more difficult of an experience. In a separate interview, Joe Ziegler, game director of Marathon, reinforced this, saying, there's a lot we'd have to massively adjust about maps, loopholes, and runner balance to support solo play. Right now, the game is mostly designed around trios or variable groupings. Now, what's most important here is that in both answers, neither Lars or Joe hinted at any progress being made towards solo play. Instead, they reaffirmed that the intentions of the game is to focus on crew-based gameplay, building an experience primarily around teams of 3, with solo queuing being possible. While this news is unfortunate, especially since not everyone has 3 friends to squad up with, or that not everyone wants to play with randoms, there's still hope that solo play could see some improvements before launch. That said, the game is ultimately designed around trios, and solo queuing, as of right now, seems to be a solution to a problem. Bakken asked, when will we be able to remove weapon mods from guns? Lars responded, that's changing soon, in the next release, not in the alpha. The mod system is being reworked. I can't get into the details, but at a high level, I know it's being changed. This means that the current mod system is being completely remodeled, meaning that players will be able to take off weapon scopes, clips, and barrels, as well as attach new mods to their weapons and runners, without destroying mods you're looking to replace. This also means that cores and implants will too see some big changes, especially when it comes to enhancing each runner's stats and equipment. After this, Hidden Xperia brought up another hot topic. I see a lot of talk about mouse and keyboard aim assist, how it kind of waters down the difference between controller and MK. While I agree it feels a bit too strong right now, I get why it's there. Lars responded, we're talking about this internally. I can't say what will change, but I know it's tunable. It's something we can adjust live when the game is active. It's not a set in stone thing. Over the few days that players had access to the alpha, the community quickly noticed just how strong aim assist is for mouse and keyboard players. Now, normally aim assist is something you'd expect from controller and analog sticks, but the level of magnetism for mouse input was far too strong. In response, a few days later, the developers released a statement saying, we'll be patching the Marathon closed alpha next week, with several fixes and updates, including disabling mouse magnetism. So, over the next week we should see some changes to how aim assist behaves. Bakken followed up by asking Lars, are you planning to add day and night cycles, for example a night rotation on Taos 84? Lars responded, that's a good question, we want to, but it depends on when. At launch, the 3 maps will feature different times of day. For example, the Outpost map is set at night. Relighting maps for different times of day takes a lot of time, so it's about choosing priorities. But launch is just the beginning, as Joe Ziegler says. We'll keep building and responding to feedback after release. It's clear from these answers that the team is laying strong foundations first, aiming to get Marathon stable and content rich for launch. Things like story depth, evolving maps, and features like day and night cycles are on their minds, but will likely come later based on player feedback and how the game grows after release. Both Bearkey and Hidden Xperia jointly asked if the team is going to add VOIP, in-game voice chat, to the game, and Lars laughed hysterically and evaded the answer. I would normally think that this isn't a feature that is a priority to the devs, but the fact that Lars laughed makes his reply seem intentional. We know the devs are aware of the community's interest in seeing this at launch, so this answer from Lars could be some sort of foreshadowing, but I'll leave it open-ended for now. Hidden Xperia mentioned that night raid maps would be cool, especially with the addition of MVG'S, night vision goggles, being in the game. Using them in the art style you guys have would look incredible. Lars agreed, saying that would be really cool. I'll definitely bring this up to the team. He then followed up with a final question. Are there any plans for thermal scopes, or are they already in the game? Lars replied, I honestly don't know. Whatever is in the alpha is just a slice of the final game. I'm not sure about thermals. The possibilities for Marathon's gear and equipment are still open. There's a lot of excitement for how deep the tactical gameplay could get, and it's clear that the developers are open to hearing it all. While that wraps up the conversation with Lars, later, Bearkey and Jesse Chasm had the opportunity to talk to Andrew Witts, Marathon's gameplay director, to dive even deeper into the design, story, and vision behind the game. Bearkey began by asking Andrew, can you tell us about the Marathon ship? Is there going to be a map there? Andrew answered in detail. We're trying to keep things a little close to the chest on that one. We're obviously still developing it. Excitement comes across from the development team when we talk about it. He goes on to laugh, and you can clearly tell from listening to his answer that he can't give too much away. He continues, I think we're excited about a lot of components in there, and in our playtest, we're listening to a lot of good moments around comms. Let's just say the dev team really thinks about it. Above all the evil things that we can put in players' way, how will they react to solving those problems? We're feeling pretty good about some of the evil right now. Andrew continued, we're really excited about the stories that are happening inside of the experience, but also there are certain things when you're working on a game, you embark on something that naturally puts a lot of pressure on yourself, just because of the expectations and stuff. Like in a video game that's called Marathon, you know anything to do with the namesake is going to be a big deal. Now you could really hear the excitement in Andrew's voice when he talked about the UESC's Marathon. Even though he was careful not to spoil anything, it's clear the team is putting a lot of thought into how players will interact with the environment. Not just in terms of story, but also the evil obstacles that players will face. It's also telling how much pressure they feel to do the ship justice, knowing how important the name Marathon is to the community. There's a real sense that the ship won't just be a backdrop, it will be a core part of the player's experience moving forward. Jesse followed, talking about Marathon. For the Marathon ship, you're keeping that close to your chest, but are there any plans for lore and story narrative to be rolled out before launch? Because currently it feels like an extraction shooter layered on top of the classic Marathon lore. Can we know the reasons as to why the world exists? What am I doing here? Andrew answered, there's a framework here, with some pieces. We definitely know what we're going to be doing. I think we know the kinds of stories we want to be telling, but we're still looking at the how. Like, how can we tell it? For example, the contracts are one piece. There's definitely others that we're looking at, but ultimately we're setting up the framework for it. I mean, the narrative team has so many things they're cooking up. In terms of what those things are, there's the base one, which is kind of like what happened here. He then goes on to say, if you watch the CG trailer, there's people driving a car, normal colonists, and then all of a sudden, things are happening to them. There's obviously a glimpse at a compiler. The compiler also looks different, right? There's a bunch of things. There's a lot of exciting stuff planned. Becky asked, do you want to tell us one secret? One little secret, one that you won't get fired for. And Andrew replied, I will say there is some neat stuff. I can tell you something that I'm excited about, that I learned from narrative that got me really hyped. Everything about the UESC is super purposeful. The UESC are not known for murder robots, and that is very purposeful. Andrew continued, in the lore, the Marathon was put together as this altruistic thing for colonizing space. And then now we're here on Tau Ceti 4, where there's a ton of murder robots guarding the planet. If you know that part of the lore from everything, it might be a question. Becky asked what sort of question. She said, like why are the UESC this way? And Andrew responded yes. Andrew's response shows that while the current version of Marathon may feel like a simple extraction shooter layered on classic lore, a much deeper narrative is quietly taking shape behind the scenes. The team already has key story elements mapped out, but they are carefully deciding how and when to weave them into the experience. His comments about the UESC and the presence of demonic murder robots hint at a larger mystery, suggesting that players will eventually be drawn into a much richer and more unsettling story than what is currently visible. It's important to remember that Marathon is still in development, and the purpose of this closed alpha is to gather feedback, take notes on what's working and what isn't, and rework the game to create a better experience for players. Links will be provided in the description as a thank you to all those included in the video. Be sure to show some support to the Marathon team with feedback, and I'll catch you in the next.